Thank you so much for the nice introduction and welcome everybody to another class. So this is our fourth class in this series, and let me share my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we
Um,
can.
Perfect. Then we can get started. So last time we spoke about market research and understanding your customer, but today we're moving on to business models and value propositions. So a business model explains how a business actually works in real life. So many people confuse having an idea with actually having a business, uh,
Mhm.
but they're actually not the same thing. So an idea is just a starting point. A business model explains how that idea becomes something sustainable that creates value and earns you money. So, in simple terms, a business model answers three basic questions. So, first of all, who is your customer? Second, what value do you offer to that customer? And third, how does the business earn money while delivering that value? And if any of those questions is unclear, then your business will struggle. A value proposition is also closely connected to the business model. So it explains why a customer should choose your solution instead of others. And we talked about competitors last time. So this is the same thing. So why should a customer choose you instead of somebody else? And it's not a slogan or a marketing sentence, but it is a clear explanation of what problem you solve and why your solution matters. So, for example, if someone wants to start a home cleaning service, the idea alone is not enough. So, the business model explains who the customers are, how the bookings will happen, how cleaners are paid, and how profit is made. So, the value proposition explains why customers should choose this service instead of cleaning themselves or hiring somebody else. So, why are you special, so to say? So, in this lecture, we will focus on turning ideas into structured systems. So, you don't need any complex financial knowledge or advanced strategy. You just need clarity. So, business models help entrepreneurs think clearly and make realistic decisions before investing too much time or money. So, that's what we're going to cover today. So, first of all, talking about why business models matter in the first place. So, why are we talking about them today? So, firstly, they reduce confusion. So, many entrepreneurs feel overwhelmed because they try to do everything at once. A business model creates structure and helps you understand how different parts of the business fit together. I like to usually compare this to an academic assignment. When you're writing an assignment, you need a clear structure in order to understand how the different parts come together and form a full assignment. So, this is essentially a very similar thing. So, without a business model, decisions are often made randomly. So, pricing, marketing, and operations, they may not align with each other. So, a clear business model helps ensure that choices make sense together and support the same goal. This will be especially important if you go into business with somebody else when it's not just you. So, you need to always be aligned. And sometimes this is why we spoke last time about market research. It's important to do market research in order to identify prices, to identify marketing strategies. All of these things need to align. So, for example, marketing will be very different at the beginning of your business than it will be later on because your budget will be different. So, these are all things that come inside a business model that are important. So, they might seem not so important at the beginning, but then you understand that those things they don't operate as individual things. They all have to come and form that same thing and support the same goal. So, to give you an example, if you're offering a very low price while providing premium and time intensive services, that often leads to burnout and losses. So, business model will focus entrepreneurs to check whether their value proposition, costs, and pricing are realistic. So I can also give an example from personal life. So if I have holiday apartments which are rented out to tourists, I cannot offer them for a lower price than my cleaning costs together with bedsheet washing costs, together with all the heating costs and electricity costs. So if those costs would be higher than the price I'm asking for my customer, then that leads to losses. So it doesn't make any sense. So this is why a business model is there to understand at what price we can offer this, so the costs are realistic and that everything together aligns. Additionally, business models help with communication. So when you can clearly explain how your business works, it becomes easier to talk to partners, investors, or even customers because clarity builds confidence. So there are very many startups out there, I will be honest, where I think the people who started them cannot clearly explain what they do, what are their goals, especially in the long term. And that doesn't attract customers. Customers want to know what exactly you're doing, what exactly you're offering, and what is there for them also in the longer term. And most importantly, business models allow learning and adjustment. So they're not fixed documents. Entrepreneurs can change parts of the model as they learn from customers and markets. So this is why it's also important that you remember what we talked about last week about market research. And we put this together with today because flexibility is a major advantage in early stage ventures. So for example, you have a business model where you're offering a certain service for a certain price, and then you realize within a month or a few months that you could be charging higher for your service or your product because you understand that there is a lot of demand. So that can be adjusted. It is not, so to say, set in stone that only what you decided in your original model has to stay that way. And now talking about going from an idea to a business. So as I said, these are different terms, and just an idea doesn't immediately mean a business. So an idea is simply a concept or an inspiration. So if you remember at the very beginning of this course in the first and second class, we said that an idea can come from a personal problem, personal frustration, maybe an observation of somebody else's struggles, or maybe a trend. So ideas are important, but they are only the beginning of entrepreneurship. And we also spoke about opportunities. So an opportunity exists when an idea solves a real problem for a real group of people who are, of course, willing to pay for a solution. So again, from last class, this is where market research becomes very essential because we need to know that our customer is actually willing to pay for a solution. There is no point of solving a problem, providing a solution, if nobody is going to pay for your service or for your product. So that's the most important part. And a business model comes after that opportunity. So it explains how the opportunity is going to be turned into an actual operating business. So it connects the idea to execution by defining customers' value, revenue, and also cost. So if I come back to that example with the holiday apartment, so it's like Airbnbs. So the idea was that I want to provide a holiday apartment for tourists who want to see my town. The opportunity is, of course, there because there were a real group of people, so tourists who want to come see this beautiful town, and they were willing to pay, of course, at the right price. You know, if I was charging so much more than anybody else offering hotel or Airbnb services, then they wouldn't be paying for mine. So this is where the market research came in. I had to align with others, but at the same time, not go into any losses. Like I said, that if I would be charging the people less than my costs are. So these are all things that you have to think about as you're developing the business model. And another example I could give you is maybe somebody wants to help people learn languages online. So this is similar to what you heard, Duolingo. It's like an app that you can learn languages from. And maybe the opportunity is that busy professionals want short and flexible lessons to learn a language. And then the business model will explain how the lessons will be delivered, how they will be priced, also marketed, and of course, sustained. So these are just to give you real life examples so you understand how we go from an idea to an opportunity to an actual business model. So once you understand this progression, it helps avoid premature action. So entrepreneurs who jump from ideas straight into execution, they often miss important steps. So business models slow the thinking down just enough to make smarter choices. Because it's not enough with that idea and that opportunity. You need to think about the other things. You need to think about your customer, your value, the revenue, the costs, and all of that involves how you're going to deliver a product or a service, how you will price it, how you market it, and how you will sustain it. So again, linking back to what we studied about market research and understanding your customer. So now talking deeply into the definition of a business model. So a business model describes the logic of how a business creates, delivers, and captures value. So in simple words, it explains how a business makes sense economically and practically. So creating value means solving a problem or fulfilling a need for your customers. Then delivering value means how that solution reaches the customer. And capturing value means how the business earns money in return. So again, personal example, creating the value was solving the problem that tourists have a place to stay in my Airbnb. Then delivering that was how it's going to reach the customer. So I have to advertise it on booking.com, on Airbnb. The customers get to book it and then they can come and stay in my apartment. And of course, capturing value is how is my business earning money in return. So as I said, I'm charging higher than the costs, and then the customers have paid to me over booking.com or Airbnb, and that money reaches my account after their stay. And then, of course, I pay for my utility costs, I pay for the bedsheet washing, I pay for the cleaning, and whatever is left over is my business's earned money. And a business model is not a detailed plan or a very long document. So it's actually a clear explanation of how things work together. So it focuses on relationships between customers, products, revenue, and costs. So if you have a subscription-based streaming service, it creates value by offering entertainment. It delivers value through a digital platform and captures value through monthly payments. So all those parts must work together. You can't remove one part and still expect it to be full. So it's the same way as when you're baking a cake, there are certain ingredients that must go in the cake for it to hold together. If you're going to miss something, it either will just not be tasty or it won't even hold together. So it's the same idea. And thinking in terms of business models, that helps entrepreneurs see the business as a system and not as isolated activities. And that systems thinking is key to sustainability and growth. So you must always think of a business as a system. There's no individual activities or actions. Then we have two separate terms that students often mistake with each other. So we have a business model and a business plan. And these two are not the same thing, but as I said, they are often confused. So a business model explains how the business works. And a business plan explains how the business will be presented, often to investors or institutions. So business models come first. They are, as I said, flexible, and they, of course, often change, especially, as your business is growing in those early stages. And business plans usually come later, and they are more formal and structured. So for example, if you're starting a startup, you might test several business models before you will write a business plan. So pricing, target customers, or even delivery methods, they may change based on customer feedback. That's also something we spoke about last time. We spoke about customer feedback in terms of reviews, or you can administer a survey to especially those first customers. And all of that you can use to improve your business model, to change it. And then writing the plan comes at the later stage. If you write that plan too early, that can lock your thinking too soon. So with startups especially, you have to be careful. You have to first collect all the feedback from the customers and only then think about the actual plan. So first you need to make changes to the model itself. So this is why I like to say the business models are tools for learning, because you learn through, feedback and through those changes that you make. But business plans, they are tools for communication. So entrepreneurs should always focus on getting the model right before they worry about writing longer documents and the plan. And when you understand the difference between a model and a plan, it reduces pressure. So you don't need a perfect plan to start. You just need a clear and testable model that can evolve as you learn, and then, of course, settle later down into an actual plan. So every business model is made up of a few key components that work together. So you don't need to memorize complex frameworks to understand this. At its core, a business model explains who the customer is, what value is offered, of course, how money is earned, and what it costs to operate the business. So as you can see, the first component is, of course, the customer. As you know, without a customer, there is no business. So entrepreneurs must be clear about who they serve and who they do not serve. So trying to target everyone usually leads to unclear offerings and weak results. And throughout this course, we will talk more closely about the customer. But last time, we focused on understanding your customer. So it's the most important part to understand who exactly is your customer, that persona, because it cannot be everybody. If I'm going to ask you, what will your product and service, like who it will serve, and you will answer everyone, that's not specific enough, because not everyone in the world will use your product or service. So you need to have that actual persona that is a detailed enough description of your ideal customer. Then, as you can see, the second component is value. So value means the benefit that your customer receives. So this is not about features or technology, but about the outcomes. So customers care about solving problems, saving time, reducing stress, or achieving goals. So you need to look at that outcome. I think I gave you this example last time with Starbucks, how they came up with, they saw the frustration of their customers who have to wait, in long lines. And they came up with a solution that you can order through an app everything you want from them, and then you just show up and you pick it up from them. So that was, obviously the outcome was reducing stress and saving time for the customers. And people are very satisfied with that service. Then the third component is revenue. So revenue explains how money comes into the business. So this can be one-time payments, maybe you have subscriptions, fees, maybe commissions. So one-time payment could be, for example, my holiday apartment, right? So a person makes a one-time payment through Airbnb, and I receive that payment after the person checks out. Subscriptions, those are things that a lot of you probably know from your everyday life. We pay subscriptions to certain things. Maybe you have Netflix, maybe you pay those ad-free subscriptions on, I don't know, Amazon Prime. Those are all things where you make monthly payments, or maybe weekly sometimes. And of course, also commissions. So there are, especially when your business can go into a partnership, you can charge certain commissions. Or another good example, if I'm still using my Airbnb example, is that Airbnb makes money on me as the host because they charge a commission, which is about 15% per stay. And a business can provide value and still fail if the revenue is unclear or insufficient. So this is why it's important that all these components of the business model work together and that they align. So as I said, there would be no point of me offering my holiday apartment if the costs of keeping the apartments and cleaning them would be higher than what I'm charging from the customer. And of course, the final components are costs and operations. So as you know, every business has expenses. There are time, tools, staff, marketing. Those are all expenses. Again, as I said, with my Airbnb, there are utility costs, bedsheet washing, cleaning. I have a person hired who, does everything, fixes the broken stuff at the house, at the apartment, cleans, generally keeps up the property, checks on it every once in a while. And also, of course, marketing, like I said. So I have to also place the apartment on certain portals which charge certain fees and subscriptions. So a strong business model will balance value creation with realistic costs, ensuring that the business can survive and grow. And now talking more about that value creation that I just mentioned. So value creation means solving a problem that matters to your customer. So entrepreneurs often think that value comes from having something new or innovative, but value actually comes from usefulness. I don't know, maybe you have this experience. I think I probably have it. Whenever some new product comes out, you decide to try it. So you buy it, I don't know, on Amazon, whatever, wherever you can get it in your countries. So you decide to buy that, and it's very innovative, and probably it's high tech these days, but it's not useful to me as the customer. So that product has failed. It doesn't have value. What's the point of it being innovative and high tech and beautiful if it's not useful to me as a customer? So you need that usefulness. So think about any solution that makes life easier, faster, of course, cheaper, or less stressful. All of that creates value. And value is defined by the customer, not by the entrepreneur. That's what has to be kept in mind. So what feels impressive to a certain entrepreneur, founder, it may not matter to a customer. And we see many products like that out there. So somebody comes up with something very impressive, innovative, high tech, and they think it's very cool because they obviously made it. But once it reaches the market and customers start using it, they realize it doesn't matter to them or it's not useful. So you always must think about the customer. That's what I've been emphasizing since our last class. And this is also why market research is important, because it helps entrepreneurs understand what customers truly value. And this is where, what I said last time, it's also important to look at your competition. That's a part of market research. So a new app might have many advanced features, but users may only care about one simple function that saves them time. So the real value will lie in that single benefit and not in the complexity and all the other features of that app. And remember that value creation can be emotional. So feeling safe, confident, supported, or understood can be just as valuable as functional benefits. So many service businesses, they succeed because they reduce anxiety or uncertainty in their customers. So entrepreneurs should always ask, what problem does this solve? And why does it matter to the customer? And clear answers to these questions strengthen the entire business model. So what is a value proposition? So this is a part of the title of today's class. So a value proposition explains why a customer should choose your solution instead of alternatives. So something we already touched on last time. It is a clear statement of benefit, and it's not a marketing slogan. So it answers the question, what's in it for the customer? And a strong value proposition includes three elements. It includes, of course, the customer, the problem that the customer has, and the solution that you are proposing. So it clearly connects these elements in simple language. And if it sounds confusing, then it's usually not clear enough. So for example, you wouldn't say, we offer innovative digital solutions. You would say, we help small businesses manage their finances easily without accounting knowledge. So that covers all three of those aspects. So your value proposition shouldn't be vague. And the value proposition also helps you as the entrepreneur stay focused. So when decisions arise, for example, adding features or changing prices, then the value proposition acts as a guide. So if it does not support the value proposition, it may not belong. And without a clear value proposition, businesses struggle to communicate. So customers may not understand why they should care. And that clarity creates trust and makes decision making easier. So again, the customer is always in the center. And talking about the value proposition versus the product. So product is what you offer, but value is why the product matters. So entrepreneurs often focus too much on describing the product and not enough on explaining the benefit of the product. So customers do not buy products, they buy solutions. That's what you should understand as an entrepreneur. And think about when you are a customer. That's the best way to imagine it. So when you step in the shoes of a customer and you buy something, you're not just buying the product, you're buying the solution that you want the product to solve. So a drill will be a product, but customers usually, want to make a hole in the wall. So the value is obviously the result, not the tool itself. So that simple idea helps entrepreneurs shift perspective. And a lot of technology-focused founders and entrepreneurs, they often fall into this trap. So they talk about all the features, the specifications, innovation, but customers care about ease, speed, and outcomes. So value language is more powerful than technical language. So remember that, especially if you're thinking about some technology startup. And when you understand the difference, all of that will improve the communication. So marketing, sales, and even your product design, they all become clearer when value comes first. So features should support value and not replace it. So entrepreneurs who explain value clearly, they stand out in crowded markets. And customers remember benefits more than the technical details. So remember that. And a strong value proposition starts, of course, with the clear customer. So if you don't know who you are talking to, then the message becomes vague. So this is where specificity improves relevance. That's why I said from that last week class, keep in mind that ideal customer, the customer persona. Then the second element is, of course, a clear problem. So the value proposition should show that you understand the customer's pain point. Again, something I already learned about in the last class, because that will build trust and credibility, that you understand the customer and their frustrations, their problems. Then the third element is clear benefit. So what changes for the customer after using your solution? So that benefit should be easy to understand and also meaningful. Then the fourth element is differentiation. So why is your solution different or better than any alternatives? So this does not need to be dramatic, but it must be very clear. And finally, a strong value proposition uses simple language. So if customers need explanation, if they keep asking follow-up questions, then it's too complex. So simplicity is actually a sign of clarity and confidence. So don't go into overly big details and technical language. It's more about simple language that customers, that everybody out there can understand from any background, not just highly educated people as well. And to understand value properly, entrepreneurs must understand what customers are actually trying to do in their lives. So this idea is often called customer jobs. So a customer job is not a profession, but it's a task or a goal that a person wants to accomplish. So customers kind of hire products or services to help them complete these jobs. So as I said, they need a useful solution. And customer jobs can be practical, emotional, or social. So a practical job might be getting from home to work. An emotional job might be feeling safe or confident. And a social job might be looking professional or competent in front of others. So good business models will consider all three of these types. Then talking about pains, so customer pain points, those are the problems, frustrations, or risks the customers experience while trying to complete these jobs. So pain can be anything that makes the process harder, slower, more expensive, or more stressful. And understanding pain helps entrepreneurs see where solutions are needed. Gains describe what customers hope to achieve. So these are the positive outcomes that customers want, such as saving time, saving money, feeling relaxed, or achieving success. So gains explain what better looks like from the customer perspective. So an example here would be a customer's job might be to prepare dinner after work. We all know how tiring that must be, right? So the pain will be being tired or lacking time. And the gain might be having a healthy meal without stress. So a food delivery service succeeds when it addresses these pains and gains clearly. And thinking in terms of jobs, pains, and gains, all of that helps entrepreneurs move away from guessing. So instead of assuming what your customers want, they analyze real situations and design value around real needs. So again, coming back to what we said about understanding your customer. And a strong value proposition matches customer pain points directly. So this means that the solution clearly reduces frustration or difficulty for the customer. So if pain points are misunderstood, even a well-built product may fail. So many businesses fail because they solve problems that customers do not care about enough. So market research helps you identify which pains are most important. So entrepreneurs should focus on the biggest pains first and not some minor inconveniences. Because trust me, there are so many things out there that are a bigger pain than others. So if customers are complaining about long waiting times, then adding any decorative features obviously won't help. So the value has to address the waiting problem directly. This could mean delivering a faster service, have better communication, or maybe clear scheduling. And matching value to pain also helps prioritize features. So instead of building everything at once, entrepreneurs focus on what reduces the most pain. And that saves time, money, and of course, energy. And when customers feel understood, then their trust increases. So customers are more likely to try a solution that clearly addresses their frustrations. And here, empathy becomes your competitive advantage. And this matching process is not theoretical. So it's actually practical and it's ongoing. So entrepreneurs must continuously test whether their value still matches customer pain as the situations are changing. And here I want to introduce a new term, business model canvas. So this is a simple visual tool used to describe how a business works. And it shows all key elements of a business on one page. So this makes it easier to understand and adjust than any long documents. So this canvas is divided into 9 sections. You'll see that also on the next slide, each representing a different part of your business. And together, all those sections show how customers, value, operations, and finances connect. So the goal is clarity and not too much detail. And entrepreneurs use such canvas to sketch ideas, test assumptions, and discuss changes. So for someone new to business models, the canvas actually provides structure. So you can start by defining the customer, then your value proposition, and then revenue. And if one section changes, then others can also be adjusted accordingly. So here you will see it on the screen. You can see the business model canvas. I've put it there for you. And the main reason why we use it, why entrepreneurs use it, is simplicity. So it avoids long explanations and forces entrepreneurs to express ideas clearly. So if something cannot be explained briefly, then it's usually not clear yet. You will also get these slides. You usually get them after my classes, so you can take the canvas off of there, or you can also simply Google, and there are even templates that you can fill out. So there, all this information is available to you with a simple search. Then also another benefit of this is shared understanding. So as I said, if you work in a team, if there's more than one founder maybe, uh, then you can use this canvas and everyone is seeing the same model. And that is reducing misunderstandings and aligning the decision making between team members. And of course, it's also encouraging experimentation. So you can create multiple versions of a business model and compare them. And that makes change feel normal and not like a failure. And talking about customer segments in this canvas, so customer segments describe who the business serves. So I said again, customer is central. And not all customers are the same, as you know, same as people are not the same. And not all customers create equal value. So this section forces entrepreneurs to be specific. So some businesses serve one main customer group, but others serve multiple segments. And each segment may have different needs, different behaviors, or different expectations. And recognizing that helps you avoid confusion. So, for example, you have a platform that can serve both users and advertisers, and each group is a customer segment with obviously different value propositions and different revenue logic. So, entrepreneurs often start with a narrow segment and they expand later. So, a focus helps refine value and operations before you scale your business. And these customer segments should be based on real differences and not on assumptions. So, market research, again, as we talked about last week, will support that decision by revealing patterns in needs and behavior. And of course, the value propositions part of the canvas. So, this is the heart of the entire model. So, it explains what value the business offers to a specific customer segment. So, if this part is weak or unclear, then the rest of the business model will struggle. So, a value proposition clearly answers the question, what problem do we solve for the customer and why does it matter? And it's not about listing features. It's about explaining benefits in a way that the customers understand and care about. And it's important to understand that each customer segment, as I said, you have different customer groups, can have a different value proposition. So a digital platform might offer convenience to users and then access to audiences for advertisers. So the value is different, even though you're using the same platform. And one mistake that entrepreneurs sometimes make is writing a very general value proposition, such as maybe high quality or innovative solutions. But those phrases are very vague and they don't explain real value. Because again, customers need to understand how their situation will improve. How will they benefit? So a good value proposition is usually specific and realistic. And moving on to channels. So channels describe how a business reaches its customers and delivers value to them. So this includes how customers learn about the product, how they purchase it, and how they receive it. So channels are all about access and communication. And what's important, especially in today's world, channels can be both online or offline. So online will be websites, social media, email, apps, and then offline will be physical stores, events, or of course, personal meetings. And the right channel, again, depends on the customer segment. So how you're going to reach the customers. Maybe younger customers discover products through social media, but then business clients, again, prefer email or direct contact. So you have to, again, think about the customer in order to identify what's the best channel to reach them. And customer relationships. These describe how a business interacts with customers over time. So this will include how your customers are acquired, how they're supported, and how they're retained. So relationships influence trust, loyalty, and of course, long-term value. So think of this the same way as you think of a personal relationship. So you have to acquire one, you have to support it, and you have to retain a relationship with a friend or a family member or a spouse. So this is the same idea. And of course, keep in mind that some businesses rely on personal relationships. So maybe consulting or coaching. And others will have automated relationships, maybe self-service platforms. And the relationship style should match the customer expectations. And revenue streams. So these explain how the business earns money from the customers. And this is the critical part of the business model because without revenue, obviously the business cannot survive, even if it creates value. So there are many types of revenue streams, such as one-time payments, subscriptions, as I mentioned, usage-based fees, commissions, or also licensing. So each has different implications for stability and growth. So we need to understand which one is better for you, for your specific product or service that you're offering. And one thing to understand is that entrepreneurs often underprice out of fear. So this is again where you need to do the market research because it helps you determine what customers are willing to pay and why. And it's important to also remember that revenue models can change over time. So early experiments will help you identify what works best before you start scaling. And the cost structure describes the main expenses involved in operating the business. So as you know, every business has costs, even digital businesses have costs. And understanding costs helps ensure sustainability. So costs, there are different types. They can be fixed or they can be variable. So fixed costs stay the same regardless of the output. Maybe rent, if you are renting a place, or any software subscriptions. But variable costs, they change with your activity. So materials or any transaction fees. And entrepreneurs often focus heavily on revenue and they forget costs. So this can lead to situations where sales increase, but profits don't. As I said, don't ever charge less than your costs are. And this is also where you have to be careful with offering discounts because that can increase your customers, but again, reduce margins. So cost awareness will support better decisions. And you always have to evaluate between quality, speed, and expense. And now moving to key resources. These are the most important assets that a business needs in order to operate and deliver value. So these are the things without which the business simply cannot function. So resources support the value proposition, the channels, and the customer relationships. So resources can be physical, maybe equipment, offices, or materials. And they can also be digital, such as software platforms, websites, or databases. So in many modern businesses, digital resources are more important than the physical ones. Then, of course, human resources are often the most critical. So skills, knowledge, experience, and time, they all count as resources. So for service-based businesses especially, the entrepreneur's own expertise may be the main resource at the beginning. Intellectual resources, those will include brand reputation, know-how, content, patents, or proprietary methods. So those resources are harder to copy and often become the long-term advantages. So for example, an online educator's key resources can be the teaching expertise, course content, and a learning platform. And you often underestimate resources at the start. So again, we focus on ideas, not on what is needed to deliver them. And that is the problem. So we need to identify key resources early and prevent any unrealistic plans. And moving to key activities. So these are the most important things that a business must do to make the business model work. So these are the actions that directly support value creation, delivery, and of course, revenue generation. And key activities depend on the type of business. So for example, for a software company, key activities may include development and maintenance. But for a service business, they may include service delivery and customer communication. So again, entrepreneurs must ask, what must we do extremely well for customers to receive value? So these activities deserve the most attention and resources. So many entrepreneurs, they try to do everything equally. And this leads to exhaustion and poor results. But identifying key activities helps you prioritize your effort. And they have to align closely with the value proposition. So if reliability is part of the value, then consistent execution will become your key activity. So as businesses scale, then activities may also shift. Maybe automation will replace manual work, or management may become more important than execution. These are things that can still change as well. And of course, key partnerships. So these describe the external organizations or individuals that help your business succeed. So no business operates completely alone. Partnerships reduce risk, they increase efficiency, and provide access to resources. And partners can include suppliers, distributors, platforms, or strategic allies. So some partnerships are transactional, but others are long-term and strategic. And partnerships can also provide credibility. So associating with a trusted brand or institution that can increase your customer trust, especially in those early stages when you're still new. But remember that you must choose partners carefully, because poor partnerships can create dependency or limit flexibility. So clear agreements and expectations are very important in a partnership. And when all parts of the business model canvas are filled in, the business model becomes visible as a system. Like I said, it's a system, it's not individual parts. So each block connects to others, and changes in one area affect the rest. So if you're changing customer segments, then you may require new channels, new value propositions, and different cost structures. So the canvas is helping you visualize these connections. And putting the canvas together allows entrepreneurs to spot weaknesses. So perhaps revenue depends on too few customers, or maybe costs are too high compared to the value. And canvas can also reveal assumptions. So many blocks are based on guesses at first. So seeing them written down helps identify what needs more testing. And as I said, teams benefit from building the canvas together, because you can discuss, which improves understanding and of course also alignment. And now, of course, testing the business model. So every business model starts with being built on assumptions. So entrepreneurs assume that customers exist, that value is real, and that revenue is possible. But testing turns those assumptions into actual evidence. And testing doesn't require a full launch, so you can do small experiments that provide actually meaningful learning. And the goal is to test the riskiest assumptions first. And testing is also not a one-time activity. So as markets and your customers evolve, you can retest your assumptions. And businesses that test continuously, they remain adaptable and resilient. So they're open to learning. And as I said, business models are not fixed. So one of the most important things that entrepreneurs need to understand is that a business model is a starting point and not a final answer. So as customers react, markets change, new information appears, and then the model must adapt. So if a company might begin selling a product directly to customers, but then later discovered that subscriptions work better. So again, that change is good, it's not a failure. And again, your canvas can support these changes because it is very easy to update. So you can redraw the blocks, test alternatives, and also compare versions without rewriting any long documents. And as we are slowly approaching the end, I do want to talk about mistakes. So many business model problems come from lack of focus. So one mistake is trying to serve too many customer segments at once. As I said, you can't say that your customer is everyone, because it often leads to unclear value propositions and weak execution. Then, of course, having unclear or vague value proposition. So if customers can't understand quickly why a business exists, then they're unlikely to engage or pay. Then, of course, weak revenue logic. Entrepreneurs can underprice or delay monetization or rely on unrealistic revenue assumptions. And never ignore costs. So a business may grow in users, but lose money with each transaction. So you need to be really careful. And business models exist everywhere, not just in startups. So looking at real life examples helps make abstract ideas more concrete and easier to understand. So look at any businesses out there. Look at your hair salon. Look at a digital platform that you're using, maybe some subscription models. All of those are the real world examples and real businesses that helps you see that there's no single correct model. So the best model depends on the problem, the customer, and of course on the context. And as I always say, simplicity wins. So simple business models are often more effective than any complex ones because simplicity improves understanding, execution, and of course communication. So when models are too complex, then mistakes increase. So think of it, you are all students and you also like when lectures are delivered to you in a more simple language, when instructions for your assignments are delivered in a more simple language. This is the same idea. So better be simple than overly complex. Everybody should understand you and your business idea, not only the highly educated people. And just quickly linking back then to that market research. So as you saw today's class, we've been connecting it with last class. So research provides insight and the business model turns that insight into actual structure. So without the market research, your models are just guesses. So customer research will inform the value propositions, the channels, and the relationships. And understanding the customer pain points that helps design stronger value and pricing. And of course, competitor analysis. It all influences positioning and differentiation. So knowing what already is out there avoids unnecessary duplication. And of course, market research also supports testing. So feedback shows which part of the model work and which needs adjustment. So as I said, with those reviews and maybe some surveys you give to your customers. So strong businesses are built where research and structure reinforce each other. And as we are at the end of the class, these are key takeaways from today. So I think that we should all remember that everything is about the customer. So customer is the center. And also remember that business models change. That is completely normal. And it's also necessary, of course. And think about that business model canvas. That's something that you can find from my slides or you can download it from Google. So use that. And I think it's a very clear visual tool without needing to write a long document. So just a reminder, the business models are living systems. So they evolve as your customers, markets, and of course, circumstances change. So entrepreneurs who will stay curious and adaptable, they are better prepared for long-term success. So that is what I want you to take away from today's class. So thank you for joining again this class, and thank you for being here in this 10 class course. We do have a few minutes, so if you have any questions, then please go ahead. And I will also share again my email address with you. I think most of you already have it, but I'm sharing it again in case you want to reach me outside of class.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Paula Abola. Ladies and gentlemen, what we just got from our very, very prolific presenter was a comprehensive and clear explanation of how all the components work together towards the normal functioning of a business. I would not make any more comments. I am personally satisfied because we don't have too much time left, but we'll take a few questions from you, either live, voicing your questions or comments, or writing them down in the chat block. The first question is coming from Changkuot Puok Tuong. Go ahead, Changkuot. We are listening to you. Changkuot, remember, we're gonna jump straight into the questions, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have too much time left. Apparently, Changkuot, your microphone cannot be turned on. I have done that on my end, but apparently on your end, it's not working. So let's try to move. All right, go ahead. We can hear you
Okay,
now.
thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can
Yes,
hear me. I've got a question. Okay.
yes, go ahead, quick, please. There is a background
Yeah,
noise
I'm
on your
coming.
end, Chanquot, but we are
Uh,
listening.
yeah, there is there is noise and unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm so
So
sorry.
the presentation has been wow. Yeah. Uh, I would like to know what is unfair advantage. What is unfair advantage? Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if you got that, Dr. Abola.
I didn't fully get that. I heard the word advantage.
Yes, I couldn't hear myself because
Unfair.
the background noise is really taking over. I'm so sorry for that, Chanquot. We have to take somebody else. And we're then gonna go to Cleopatra Williams. Are you ready, Cleopatra?
Yes, I am there. How are you? Thank you so
Just fine,
much.
thank you.
Thank you, Dad. I probably did not have any question, but your closing statement made me to kind of just pop up something to you, and that is, um, you earlier said that when it comes to the revenue end, payments are made. You receive through business means, transfers, or so many means, either by cash or by direct or indirect payments on various platforms or what have you. And so that is a cash or the accrual basis. Okay. And so when we're closing, you already said that it is good to use a kind of easier medium, that is something that will be easier for both you and your customer. In as much as then your statement, your closing statement, you said, it is also good because the customer have an edge. That means customer satisfaction. Okay, so customer satisfaction. Suppose my customer find it pleasurable in using the Bitcoin, and using the Bitcoin is kind of, if it is at a, can I say, I won't say disadvantage, but it kind of a little difficult wherein network and sometimes the platform becomes slow and what have you, and that will create an in simplicity, because we're talking about simplicity for your business, that is the transactions will not flow freely as it's supposed to. So in that medium, can you please help? Because those who have organized and have the encryption, they are not willing to make it simple for everybody to have it usable because of their own, their own interests. So if customers have a priority wherein they're supposed to choose, and you have to give the order because you need to sell your product and you need to give a good service to them. So you need to accept. So that means if somebody making payments through Bitcoin, network slow, not coming on time, but then you have to deliver the goods because you show the money will come, it don't come on time. You have to go to procure another supply or what have you. So that makes it a little difficult. So can you just help us address that issue?
Thank you very much for your comment or question, Cleopatra. Dr. Abola?
Yes, so thank you for addressing that. So I think that with things like Bitcoin, one of the main things we need to consider is that not everybody is going to be comfortable using them, and there's many factors. So as I mentioned, age already throughout my thing, that there are customers that are younger who are much more comfortable using things like Bitcoin because that involves, use of the internet and whatsoever. So I can say that even I'm from a younger generation, but I don't fully understand the Bitcoin. And then, of course, also security and safety. So a lot of people are afraid of things like Bitcoin because of the amount of scams and frauds going on. So these are all factors to consider. And I am not sure how they can make it easier or even safer. And also think about the value of it. It can shift day to day. Like we know that before there were people who started doing the Bitcoins and then the value of them increased drastically, but then at the same time it can fall as fast as it grew. So those are all things that need to be considered.
Thank you very much. It is
Thank
your
you so
turn now,
much,
Patricia. Patricia, who go through, that's your turn.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
And thank you so much, Dr. Bowler, for your wonderful lecture. The segments in brackets, we have Canva.
You are breaking
Breaking up.
considerably, Patricia. I am so sorry.
Please, can you
Maybe she can email me.
should I come again? Should I repeat?
Yeah, let's try once more. If that doesn't work, you can email your question to Dr. Abola. Go ahead, let's try again.
Okay, I said, can you explain more on customer segments? Customer segments is part of the lessons you took.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So customer segments, what I mean by that is that you have different groups of customers. So you might have one product or service, but you might be offering it to different groups of customers who gain different benefits from it. So I gave the example of a digital platform. So for example, even Instagram, right? So you see that you are a user on Instagram, you can post and do certain things as the user, but then there's also advertisers. They're putting their advertisements on Instagram. So Instagram has to manage different customer segments. Those are two completely different groups, both who are benefiting in different ways.
Thank you very much. Let's tackle the last question as we have run out of time. Laka Mado, let's afford you an opportunity to ask your question. Laka Mado. Are you ready, Laka? Well, it doesn't seem that it's going to work for Laka Mado, although we gave him this opportunity to ask a question. Very unfortunately, that didn't go through.
I have put my email in the chat in case anybody wants to email me.
Okay, that's very, very important, brothers and sisters. Our SME, Dr. Paula Abola, just pledged to have her email address in the chat box. So make sure you pay close attention to that before we actually close the session, so that even afterwards you'll still be able to email her whatever your queries, inquiries, preoccupations, or questions are. That's very, very nice of her. We definitely appreciate that. So that's about it, brothers and sisters. Remember, what the whole session was essentially about was to turn ideas into structured system towards reducing chaos through the business models. I hope you have taken full advantage of that. If there are still issues, remember, you may email Dr. Paula Abola directly. I want once again to thank each and every one of you, brothers and sisters, for your attendance today. We were very, very privileged to have had somebody of the caliber of Dr. Paula Abola, a true expert in the arena of entrepreneurship. And we're going back to her at this time, Doctor, for your concluding remark, please.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining my class and also for taking this course. So altogether we have 10 classes, and I will see you for the next class next week on 24th of March. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. It's been a real blessing to have you, Dr. Abula, and we were all pleased to have each and every one of you very cherished participants. At this time, I am inviting you to talk collectively to Dr. Abula and tell her how appreciative you are towards her. Your microphones are on.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Abola.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dr. Abola.
Bye-bye.
This class was
Everything.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you. Thank you. God bless.
Bye.
Thank
It's a
you.
wonderful
Let's meet next week.
experience.
Be blessed,
Anyway.
everybody.
Thank
It
you.
was a
Bye.
delight
God
to
bless.
see you again.
Mm.
Bye now.
Blessings.
Yeah.